What's up, everybody? It's your boy, StephenMotivate. We are back again with another special episode of The Journey to Freedom. We got a special guest, and I want to do her justice this morning. We are sitting down with a storyteller who learned to deliver clarity when the world felt loud. She cut her teeth in broadcast journalism, spent years on air as a trusted anchor at WXII TV. Is that right? The NBC affiliate in North Carolina, and became the calm voice you turn to for live reporting, crisis coverage, and straight up truth. She took that newsroom discipline and evolved it and became an author, a consultant, and a corporate leader. And as an author, she has penned the powerful children's book, Why My Hero Had to Go.
Whoop, whoop, I'll take it.
As a media coach and founder of TV Media Training, she equips professionals to own the mic, master interviews, and communicate with confidence. And in her corporate roles across marketing and business development, she's still doing what she does best, turning messages into impact. From the anchor desk to the boardroom, from breaking news to building leaders, her career proves that a foundation in journalism can become a launch pad for multifaceted media leadership. Let's show some love to the one, the only friend, basically family at this point, Talitha Vickers. What's up, Talitha?
Thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate that intro. I want to walk in every room like that. Thank you so much.
Does it even sound real in life that you've done all these things, that you're author, media, consultant? Does it feel like, when did I do this?
Yeah, because I put in a lot of work to get all of that. So when you say, have you felt, it's almost like running a marathon. It's like when you're finished, you're like, did you feel it? Yep, I felt every mile because I put in the work for it, for sure.
That's awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you. I don't know where to start because as off camera, when we were talking about your story, all the things you've done, it makes me, one, do what we do on this show is tell people, one, you can demonstrate the possibilities, right?
Right, absolutely.
You're not limited, even though you have a job, you can have a side hustle, you can do more than the minimum, I like to say.
That's right.
Where does that come from for Talitha? Where does that doing more than the minimum, being multifaceted, multi-hyphenated, where do you think that started?
The good Lord above, for sure. I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due, and my family truly, just instilling at a very early age. I didn't know it was entrepreneurship, but it was. And I know that they leaned heavily on the fact that our source of all things comes from God. And so for us, that was really, really important. And to build on that is like putting in that private practice determines public performance. So I learned it at a really early age, and planting a seed. You don't just bear fruit the very next day. You don't plant the seed and then you got apples and oranges, you know? And you see a lot of that is biblical too over the course of time and over journeys. But, as it relates to entrepreneurship, just planting that seed, watering it, having the right sunlight, sometimes that seed through germination, like that seed has got to come out of the ground, right? That seed's got to fight through and come out the mud, right?
Right, come out the mud for sure.
And it takes a lot of tenacity and willpower, because if you don't see the seed growing, you're just like, let me just leave it alone. And then weeds come, right? And so I think that it's this internal hustle. It's this Vickers hustle that is inherent in us. And I think my dad and my mom played an integral role in don't quit, so seeing things come to fruition over time, once you get it, it's almost addictive. Like, it's just like, oh my,
contagious.
Right. It really does. And you just want to do more, and you want to see how far you can push yourself. And that's why you even from the intro that you read, you see that I'm in different arenas, but I'm not one to sit here and say that I got it right away. It took some failure, a lot of failure, but a lot of consistency. So
I ask everybody this. So would you say it's nature? This is who you are. It was built into you, or it's nurture? It was because of the parents. Is it nature or nurture?
Gosh, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that before. For me personally, I would say it's a little bit of both, but I know it's got to be part of my DNA too, because a lot of it, to know my dad and to know my mom, they do not stop. They are very different. My mom is this sweet, angelic woman. And my dad is more of like the go-getter, and the two of them combined, they have their own way of nurturing their specialty of tapping into the things that I think make me me. So my mom was more of that nurturer, and she found a way to tap into, okay, if I nurture Talitha this way, then we can get this result. And then my dad, I mean, we could do a whole podcast about him and what he does, but at the end of the day, he always taught me, leave things better than you found it. Think 5 steps ahead. He taught me, things like everything begins in seed form and grows into an experience. And that also came from our pastor, A.R. Bernard, too, as well. And then seeing what that experience looks like and, measure twice, cut once. Like those are the things that, it was a different form of nurturing than my mom, but I saw it in a practical way and I was able to apply it. So that's why it's hard for me to say one or the other, because I feel like for me, I had both, which helped to develop me.
Yeah.
Or help me to develop.
A.R. Bernard is a beast too. That's awesome. So that's the church y'all went to.
Yes, we started off at in Brooklyn, actually in Queens. He had a storefront. A lot of people don't realize. I
didn't realize that. No, it seems like he was always like this major, mega pastor type person.
Oh no, we were there when he started in a storefront. And we would go to this course called Spiritual Growth. And it was a small group of maybe 15, 20 people. And we would go all the time. And the kids would sit out like in the lobby area. And I would hold court there because I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to be the Sunday school teacher while, they're doing spiritual growth. And it's grown over the years from that storefront to 1400 Linda Boulevard when it was Christian Life Center, and I was a Sunday school teacher there too. And we would go on camping trips and family picnics for the church together. So I grew up with his boys, and
So behind the scenes, you could say A.R. Bernard, true man of God.
Oh my goodness, absolute 1,000. I'll put 100 on it for sure.
That's awesome. All right, It's Dr.
A.R.
Bernard. We got validation here.
That's right. Shout out to you.
So your journey. So starting out, right, you're getting this good nurturing from mom and dad. They're giving you gems that have obviously stuck with you.
Absolutely.
As you jumped into career life, I was like, how am I going to make money? How am I going to participate in the economy? Try to reflect back on that time and tell us what are some things that you learned on that journey and how you were able to ultimately have a successful career and jump into journalism.
Yeah. So for me, if you were to look anything up, you would see Talitha Vickers on television. But for me, it started behind the scenes. And still to this day, that's where my passion is. Like, I never wanted to be on camera. I always wanted to write. And we were talking a little bit about that offline too. It's just like, I'm a researcher and a writer at heart. And I love finding out more to tell a story. And so I think that's where, the Sunday school teaching and my passion for children came together. And I've always said that I wanted to work for Sesame Street. Shout out to Sesame Street if you're looking for a producer. But
reach out.
Seriously. And so I just love working with children because they are the seeds, They are sponges, and you can help them to develop and find their own gifts and talents and abilities. So children have always been really, really important to me. And I learned so much from them, seeing through their lens.
Yeah.
And so I say all that to say I just loved writing so much that in college, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I went in and it was just like, all right, let me just take these core classes. But then I took this communications class, and my professor, Jim Driscoll, he worked for UPN 9 News in New York. And he was like, you're such a great writer. And where does this come from? But it came from reading. Like, I read everything that you could think of. Like, if I could get my hands on it, I would just dive into it. I mean, growing up, we didn't have like a washer and dryer at home. And so my mom would, Fridays were the best days of the week to me because we'd put everything in this little cart and wheel it down to the laundromat. But while we were there, my mom would take us to the library. And when we went to the library, it just opened up this whole world to me because I'm like, even though we're in this small apartment in Queens, New York, I get to travel around the world on laundry day because I get to open up a book. I get to read. I get to explore. I get to experience so much more than my friends that are sitting in the laundromat or just maybe doing something else, right? And so, kids these days, they want to have like a credit card. My credit card back in the day was like the library card. Like I love that was like the most valuable. That's what gave you
access
to everything. Yeah. No black card needed, library card.
Library card, wow.
But I say all that to say, like, I use that experience of, that was my mom's way of nurturing, right? And with what she had. We didn't have a washer and dryer. We didn't grow up in like this big glitz and glamorous space, but it taught me to hustle hard so that I could do better for my children. Yeah. But not even better, but just give another experience because that was what my mom had and my dad had at the time. And I don't necessarily, I really take that back. It's not do better. I needed to have that. That was the best for me. And so
good perspective.
I then went from doing that and Sunday school teaching and getting back to Jim Driscoll, my college professor. He really pushed me. And, it was the first time in a class where I felt comfortable raising my hand because I was getting the answers right. And in other classes, like math, algebra, science, I'm like, don't come over here. Don't look at me. Don't give me any numbers. But anything with words and content and creative writing, it all came from the library. It came from that laundromat experience.
So 2 questions. One, kind of touching on insecurity, because when you're a reader, when you kind of have a proclivity towards words and I guess being smart, as we label it, was there any backside of that? Was there any like people making fun of Talitha because she's always in a book, or not being active because I just want, was there any backside of that?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Because there were people that, let me put it this way. I would literally sit in a class and be afraid to speak up. And anyone that knows me now, they're like, Talitha, afraid to say something? What? I was just so nervous that if I didn't get it right or if other people would make fun of me or, I was so concerned about what other people would think that it held me back. And that's one thing I say to entrepreneurs even now, just do it messy, just do it. That Nike slogan, just do it. Yeah. Just get in there because you're only going to get better. And I wish I knew that sooner because to your point, it was a great question. Like, I did have people like making fun of me, or I did have people like, I never got asked to the prom because I was always in a book. I was always running. I did track and field. I did cross country. Like I was always doing something that wasn't like everyone else. So I was like, why am I going to ask her to prom? She's going to be a boring date. Yeah. But I was actually a really fun date. My brother got one of his friends to ask me, who I thought was cute at the time, side note. And so I did go to the prom, but I mean,
it didn't happen the way you thought it would happen and all that. Right. Yeah, it plays into psyche, all that sort of thing.
All of it. And then you start to question like, I don't necessarily fit in with everyone else, but that's my superpower, you know, and that's what makes me different and sets me apart. And that's what I try to do even in business, is to do things that set me apart, even with the book, trying to, start that. It was an 8-year experience with the book, but I wanted to do things or have a book that I didn't see necessarily in the library. I wanted to have a book that looked like my people and my culture.
Great book, by the way. I just read a little bit of it. We're going to have to get one for my daughters. But like jumping back a little bit into this piece, what would you say to young Black women right now who are maybe dealing with insecurity? And I don't know, young could be anything. I don't know if you're talking about teenagers or mid-20s or early 30s or 40s. But what would you say to young Black women who are dealing with insecurity, and how would you suggest, what advice could you give them?
Don't shrink. Because
Don't shrink.
Don't shrink.
Yeah.
I find, and I'm guilty of this myself, but I had to get over it. And you got to get over it real quick. Because especially in the society that we're in, we're often made to feel like we have to edit ourselves, or we can't come to the table, we can't speak up. You know, we hear, oh, I want a seat at the table. And then we'll hear on the flip side, make the table, build the table, and all of those things.
Yeah.
I don't care about the table. What I care about is you not shrinking in any arena, whether you're at the table, whether you're on a podium, whether you're in your home, whether you're on the job, whether you're out in the field, whether you're in the supermarket, don't shrink.
Yeah.
And far too often, because of the complexion of our skin and because of the fact that we are female, we're made to feel like we have to fit in this box. You know, you have an amazing producer, Mackenzie. Most producers don't look like her, don't have the eye that she has. Women behind the scenes, women behind the camera, women in production have this attention to detail. No offense.
Right.
Men are headliners. You know, they want, here's the bullet point, let me fix it. We are the fixers. We're going to get in there and we're going to make it right because we're protectors, right? As men. Or, well, you guys, that's how I feel.
Right.
But then as women, we have this attention to detail that men might oversee or might look at in a different way. And so I say to women, don't shrink those details. Don't shrink those parts of you that make the world a better place because the world is already going to try to make you smaller. Just, I would say, keep going. Make sure that you lean into who you truly are because your producer, Mackenzie, is much different than I, and she has a different eye than I, and her lens and her experience is different than I. But when we team up, it's going to be the baddest podcast ever, okay?
Exactly.
You know? And so I just find that sometimes, even, you know, as an adjunct professor at WSSU, shout out Rams in the building.
Oh, I think Eddie went to WSSU. That's
Really?
Winston-Salem?
Yeah, Winston-Salem State University.
Okay, yeah, Eddie went there.
And so I tell people all the time, my students, I tell them, especially the women, you can be the producer, you can be the photographer. You don't have to be in the hot seat or you don't have to be like the main talent. You can be, but there's so much more that you can do that makes a whole lot of money too as well.
Right.
On the other side of the camera. Don't shrink your gifts, talents, and abilities because there'll be more than enough men and other women out there and people, places, and spaces that will want you to just be quiet and edit yourself and edit your hair, rock your braids. Don't shrink.
Don't shrink.
Speak up. Don't shrink.
Right.
Bring your ideas to the table because you're just seeing everyone's lived experience is so different and have no idea how much value add that could be a light bulb or a flip of a switch turn off or turn on for someone that can turn off something out of protection for you, but turn on something to catapult you to the next level. So don't shrink.
Don't shrink. That's good. That's beautiful. Women, ladies especially, everyone, but especially young Black women, don't shrink. And I love that because, you know, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm very brash at times, very just, okay, that doesn't matter. Da, 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 da. And then sometimes in retrospect, I'll find out, oh, that did matter. That detail does matter. We shouldn't just rush through that. Or I see this because we go to a lot of kids' birthday parties. Yeah. And so it's like, that's not really important. But then you find out everyone liked that little detail. That's what made the experience so important. So I think your advice is spot on. Okay, second question that I wanted to ask. You said the professor noticed you were a great writer. What, as quick as you can, makes a great writer at that stage, at that age? What was he pulling out from your writings, from your work, where it's like you felt like he noticed and you maybe started to believe yourself, okay, maybe I do have some gifts and talents as it relates to writing?
Immediately, I'll never forget it. Jim Driscoll, he asked a question, what is the most important thing when you're writing? What is the most important word that you can include when you're writing for broadcast? This was a broadcast communications class. And no one raised their hand. I raised my hand and I said, you. And he said, that's exactly right. He's like, what's your name? I was like, Talitha Vickers. Oh. And I was like, oh no. I went back to that high school moment like, oh no, see, I shouldn't have answered the question. But he was like, that's exactly right. Wow. That was the first time that I was like, oh my goodness, I got it right. And then from there, I always spoke up. But the reason why you isn't so important is because if I tell you that, if I include you in a story, it makes it personal. So when you say the word you or you write the word you, it's like, oh, you're talking to me. So for broadcast journalism, including the word you is very, very important. So for example, there's a recall of Purdue chicken. It's deadly tonight at 10, or tonight at 10, the chicken you could be eating could kill you. We'll see. Right. It's like, oh my gosh, the chicken I'm eating? Like, oh my goodness, I'm in the kitchen whipping it up right now. Wait, hold on. We're not having chicken tonight. We're going to have beef, right?
Exactly.
And so it's catchy. So just learning how to speak to your audience, to write to your audience, whether that's for a magazine or paper, is very critical. It's very different than writing for broadcast journalism. So that's my quick snapshot of what he shared with me, of always, even when you're doing a tease or a promo, or if you're putting, something together for social media, include the word you. And it's an action word. Like, it makes you feel like, okay, someone's talking to you and there's action. Like, you need to buy this today. Why? Okay, let me do some more research and find out why. But you. Wow,
that's good. That's awesome. That's a light bulb moment for myself. All right, great. Okay, so you do that. You get through the class. What's next? How do you get land that first gig? Is it easy? Did it come hard? Were you unemployed after college, or did doors just start to open for you?
Yeah, I was in Jim Driscoll's class. He was the professor for WWOR-TV in Secaucus, New Jersey, and he made a competition. He said, I want the class to put together a newscast, and whoever does the best with it, they're going to get an internship with me in New Jersey. And so you already know who won the competition. Shout out to Jim Driscoll. And so I got my start there, and I was so eager and so ready. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do exactly what I was doing in Jim Driscoll's class. I'm gonna be the writer. I'm gonna anchor and produce and do all of these things. And I got there, and they're like, okay, well, here's your internship, and we eat lunch at this time and answer the phones. And I was like, wait a minute. That is not what I thought.
Right.
So I got that internship, ended up turning into a job, but I hustled at that job. I did exactly what I took the orders for food and lunch and all of that. But when I noticed problems or something that I can make a solution for, I jumped in and did it. And at the time we had faxes that would come in. That's how we would get news and updates about whatever was happening. So the fax machine would print out this sheet of paper saying like, the mayor is going to be speaking at this location. And then they would put it in a section. But the section had no organization. So I would organize it by date and month. And just to make it easier for the assignment editors. And they're like, who did this? Who organized? I'm like, I did. And I found ways around the job
value.
To make exactly.
Without being asked.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. Yeah. A lot of times like, well, they didn't tell me to do that. Interns start off and they're like, well, nobody told me. Find ways to add the value without being asked. That's the key.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and that led to other jobs within that main station that I started off as an internship. I was just running scripts. I was running prompter. And I found ways that there's a cadence to running prompter. Some people talk really, really fast. Some people talk a little bit slower, have a lot of emotion, pause. You can't just run through prompter for somebody like that. And so people were like, who's on prompter right now? And I'm like, ooh. I'm like, it's Talitha. Keep her on prompter. She knows my pace. Like you just learn. And that's the thing. I love learning people and figuring out solutions to problems and issues. And that's the best, for me, that was the best opportunity that led to other things. So the internship led to being a field producer. Field producer led to, I worked with the I-team and I did undercover investigations. And so then that led to, people pushing me more to say, you need to be on camera. And I'm like, no, I just want to write. So it started there, and I got my first job at News 12 in the Bronx. And so I had to shoot, I had to write, and I had to edit. One-woman band.
Oh, wow.
So all of those seeds, again, nurture, water, sunlight, adversity. And it didn't just happen. I got doors shut in my face too.
So, because for folks, especially who haven't been to New York, I think there's a, what do you call it? This thought that New York is rough, gruff, scary a bit. So was that scary? Was the Bronx scary doing that by yourself? What were people mean? Were they closed off? What did you find out about people when you actually were in the Bronx?
When you are real with people, they will help you, because I'll never forget, I was in the Bronx. There was no GPS. I would call up my dad. I had maps.
Yeah, no GPS.
Okay?
Yeah.
There was no Waze or anything like that. So I would pull out a map. I'm like, Dad, I'm by the Bronx Zoo. I'm like giving him my coordinates. I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. He's like, okay, go to E4. And I'm like, oh, how do I get to that street? It's a one-way. People helped me. The people in the Bronx were just so amazing. So there is this stigma of, New York so rough and brash and all of that. But for me, maybe it's because I grew up there. I just never saw that.
Right.
Or felt that way. Yes, there's a lot of hustle and bustle there compared to being down south. But people were so helpful. Again, I was a one-woman band, so I had to carry a huge microphone with a backpack and a tripod and look cute because I have to shoot my own stand-ups and do the interviews, and I'm on the scene of a fire and it's hot. And so I'm like carrying all this stuff. Can I help you? And I would never, you don't let anyone carry your camera. I mean, that's your baby and it's very expensive. But thank you so much. Can you carry the tripod or help or whatever?
Yeah.
And so people were just always just willing to help. And so
you connect that to you being real with them.
Absolutely. Because I'm over here struggling. Yes, absolutely. You see me sweating, right? Yeah. But people, when I say I was real with people, I was a big part of my community. So I wasn't just on camera. People remember, oh, that's Talitha Vickers. She showed up at my kid's school and read a book. That's Talitha. She was at the soup kitchen, not just on Thanksgiving. That's Talitha. She's very involved in the community.
Wow.
They saw that and they're like, oh my gosh, that's Talitha. She needs help.
Yeah.
Because now I'm on the scene of breaking news and I'm struggling over here, but they remembered me showing up at their church and giving a speech or something like that. So that's the real part of it. So thank you for bringing me back to that.
And that's dope. That's dope. Okay. What brings you to North Carolina? And this fear, this something you never wanted to do of being on camera, what was that like? Are you glad? Did you get over the fear? Or is it the best thing you ever did to get in front of the camera instead of just being behind it?
It was truly an eye-opening experience because I had all this passion for storytelling, but I didn't realize that to pull it off and have it like a full circle moment for me was to then be on camera. So I could write the stories, I could produce the stories, but then for me to be able to tell the stories has been so valuable to me personally, because I've gotten to meet people. I've had an opportunity to be the voice to the voiceless and tell their stories and bring justice to certain communities. I mean, I've covered some of the largest stories, you name it and can think of it. George Zimmerman trial, Trayvon Martin, Casey Anthony trial, Tillicum the Whale. I mean, there were so many major stories and experiences that from producing and from reading and from learning that I was able to then be a face of a community. And also, we always say the face of a station, but it took a team effort. So it gave me more of an appreciation to appreciate my producers, appreciate my photographers. And that full circle opportunity came in the form of a job transfer here. So you said, how did I get to North Carolina? It was because I was working for a station in Orlando that had a sister station in North Carolina. And they were just like, Talitha, listen, we want you to stay with the company. We love you, but there's no open positions for an anchor spot. Because once I got on the anchor desk, I was like, okay, this is different. It's different than being in the Bronx and hustling with my camera and the tripod and all of this is, okay, now you are commanding the ship here. You are literally anchoring and you're being this calm voice, even amid tragedy or even amid great things that happen in our communities too. And I love that. But there's what you can't, for me, I couldn't be a journalist and just sit there on the anchor desk and do my time and then go home. I need to build trust. And now I'm truly vetted by the communities where I have served. I don't work in these communities. I love serving the communities that I've been a part of. And that for me, it was very important and instrumental for my kids to see too, as well. Like, mommy's just not in this box on television.
Yeah.
You're coming with me, and we're gonna help our community in any way that we can. But I came here because of a job transfer, and I was like, my agent was like, "All right, Talitha, just stay there for 2 years, and we're gonna hop to the next opportunity." And that's what you do in news. Like, you sign a 2-year, 3-year contract, and you move up in the markets. And so they're like 250 something television markets, and New York is number 1.
Wow.
And my agent was just like, what are you doing still in North Carolina? We're at year 5 now. We're at year 6 now. We're at year 7 now. All right, 10 years in, I'm not making any money off of you. So I'm like, I just love it here.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up in New York is just a different life. But here, I would not trade it for the world. I'll go back and visit. I'll go back and see my family and things like that. But there's something different about living in the South that I will never go back.
So briefly tell us about this, because we're going to get to the book, but the business of, because I had no idea that anchors have agents.
Yeah.
And so my first question is, how long does it take typically in the news world to become an anchor? And is that the tip of the spear? Or what, if not, what is the tip of the spear?
On camera, the tip of the spear, your North Star is for sure being an anchor on camera. Because, for many people, I would say that. But some people love being a reporter. Like, I loved reporting. And even when I was anchoring, I would talk to my news director and say, can I still get out and report? There's just something about being live on the scene, breaking news. I'm in it. Or at anchor desk, you got to sit there and like, okay, now over to you, Stephen.
Right.
I love that. So I would still go out and do stuff. But the tip of the spear, that North Star for many who want to be on camera would be being an anchor.
And that's the highest paid too.
That is the highest paid in the newsroom on air, for sure.
Yeah.
And so there are these different television markets, and you want to be in a higher market. Like, the lower the number, the higher. It's basically New York is number 1.
Right.
I don't even know what 250 something. I don't even know what city that is, but you don't usually start off at number 1. You go to school, you do your internship. I was able to start off in New York, but I was at a cable station. So it's technically, you're starting off in the New York number 1 market, but I didn't start off on like the Today Show or something like that. I started off behind the scenes, and then you work your way up, and eventually I worked my way up where agents started noticing and started giving me calls and saying, hey, I can take you to network. And, do you want to have this additional experience? And in news, you definitely want to be on network.
Network is nationwide, essentially.
Absolutely. Exactly. Right. So there are affiliates. So there are networks. There's like NBC, Fox, ABC. But then in every single state, like in North Carolina, we have affiliates that feed up to the network because the networks can't be everywhere at every time.
Right.
So if something happens in Orlando, NBC in New York can say, okay, NBC in Orlando, let's get your footage. Yeah. And if it's a big enough story, that we'll go live to the NBC affiliate in Orlando. And so that's kind of how that works. Yeah. But yeah, that big North Star, I hope I'm answering your question.
You are.
It is being at the anchor desk. But then now so much has changed too. Some people see their North Star as like, I want to be, let's say on a morning show, but I also want to do web content. So some people, because everything has changed. Like no one's really tuning in at 5:00 to watch Talitha on the news.
Like they used to.
Right. Yeah. That's back in the day, like Walter Cronkite and, the old school foundation.
And I remember my parents, it's like, I remember my parents or maybe my grandparents would say, you didn't watch the news? Like we watch the news every day. Like this is.
It's appointment. It's an appointment time.
Turn from that and turn to the news channel. Like it's time for the news. And so you can tell that generation and even my parents' generation, like it was a vested thing. So this just came in my mind. So can we trust the news?
So which news? So I have an opinion, but I mean, I believe, yes. And I will say that to my dying day is that like, there's an art to journalism. And there's things that have changed. But overall, when you find like a grassroots reporter that is going to be fair and right down the middle and share both sides, those that then gives you, the viewer, the opportunity to say, okay, I heard this side, I heard that side, and now I can form an opinion. When it's leaning so heavily to one side and you don't have the other side, a lot of people get influenced by that and they think that that is the 100% truth. But I like watching newscasts that, or even magazine television shows that have that balance so that I can form my own opinion. But then it's also up to me to then do my own due diligence and research, because news is only a fragment of time. You can't fit every fact and figure and statistic into one newscast. I mean, one story is 1 minute and 30 seconds, and that's long. That's called a package. And then they have these elements of stories that are called VOSOTs. It's voice over sound on tape. And those are even shorter. That's 30 seconds. So how can you fully grasp a concept in 30 seconds or 1:30? It's up to us as a community to also do the research and put in the time to see fact from fiction. So I try my very best. I have tried my very best as a journalist to always do that with the time that I was allotted. But if I had a story where that left more questions than answers, I would fight for that story and say we need to do a follow-up, because we can't fit it all in here, and that's not fair to our viewers.
Okay, so myth or truth, the news is one big conspiracy and everyone's reporting the same thing, and there's some big, powerful, entity out there, and you're basically all robots.
I would say no to all being robots, but if you think about it, if there's one big major story, there's different ways to tell that story, but it is the same story. So I know a lot of people say like they're all reporting the same thing. Well, that's the thing that's happening right now. There's a presidential election. We're all going to be reporting on it. There's a major, major fire that impacted multiple communities. That's what we're going to talk about. There's Katrina happened. So that's what we're going to be talking about. People take that and they're like, well, you're all saying the same thing. Well, because this thing is so massive, we got to talk about it. We may bring in different subject matter experts. We may have a different angle, but we're talking about something that's actually happening in the world and on the planet.
And that's not so much of as a conspiracy as it is human nature.
It's what's happening.
If something happens in our family, the family's going to call around and tell the other family members.
Exactly.
So it's very similar to what would happen on a micro level and a macro level as well. Okay.
Because it's like, okay, we're having a family reunion. That's a fact. How everyone's going to get there might be a little different. Some people might fly, some people might take a train, some people might, drive.
Exactly.
But you're all going to get there in your own unique way. And along the way, you're going to have a different story. Someone's car might break down. Someone's flight might be delayed. Someone might show up to the house a little bit earlier and they got the better room at the house.
Right, getting a better room. That's one thing.
You already know, like, who's got the room with the best bedroom? And so, but it's then a different, you're seeing it through a different lens because that's your experience. So I would say on a very high level, that's where you get, hey, it's all the same story, but how we got there is a little bit different based off of, and even the tools that we have. I mean, your tool to get to the family reunion might have been a train, you might have to walk. So your experience might be by the time you show up, you're tired, walking to the family reunion. But your experience builds a story when you all come together and share it, and that story might look and feel a little bit different. I would just encourage people to also do their own research
on top of it. And I like that. I like your point there, because I feel like that is the truth. Like, the news is valuable. We need it. It is important to know what's going on out there. But in addition to that, dig in yourself. Don't take it all at face value. Okay, so jumping back into your story, your journey. So you're doing TV, you're anchoring, you got an agent, all this, like, that seems to be, again, tip of the spear. Everything's going great as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a, human. What makes you want to make a change, focus from journalism to, I'm going to write? And, well, you've been writing, but now I'm going to author a children's book with great illustration, with a, even I love the cover. Why My Hero Had to Go.
Thank
so
you.
Slowly walk us into how the book came about.
That transition, sure. So the book came about because my brother, who served in the Army, he had a little boy, and his name was Jared. And my nephew could never understand where his dad was going. And so anytime that he had to leave or got deployed to a different location, we would try to explain to him like, oh, daddy's going away, but he's going to come back. And, we're going to pray that everything goes well. And he's like looking at us like, I don't know, what does that mean?
Right.
Everyone else has their dad with them. And why is mine going away? And so it broke my heart every time that they had to separate, because there was a lot of tears, and then his mood would change in a really big way. So I would just be like, how can we, beyond ice cream and cupcakes, and make him happy, when these things would happen? And so I keep a notepad by my bed on the nightstand. And anytime I would think about it, I would just write down just like little things like, what could I tell Jared this time? What could I say this time? And I highly encourage people to do that too, because sometimes things will come into your thoughts. And I believe that's God's way of just giving you a nugget of your future. But tap into it, because if you don't, he will give it to somebody else.
Wow.
So
that's good.
Keep it there. I kept it there, and I kept going back to those nuggets. And it took years, because life is lifing and happening, and I'm, a lot of things was happening. Very busy, right? Yeah. And so I would say, okay, what can I tell Jared that his dad is doing right now, that he's doing too, and how can I draw a parallel? So, for example, the book starts off, in the sky at night, I watch the stars take flight. As we look up at the same moon tonight, it's shining bright, letting me know you're all right. So, hey, there's one moon. Daddy's looking up at it. You're looking up at it. And we can connect through our environment. Even though we're millions of miles apart, you're always in my heart. And you're finding ways to connect through the environment.
Yeah.
So this little boy had to go to school. His dad also had to go to school, right? Yeah. And finding these ways to make them connect was really important to me. So I kept jotting those things down. And then I wanted it to have like some sort of rhythm to it. I needed it to rhyme so that he could remember it. And that was a key part too, because there were kids at school that were bullying him or not being very kind and saying, your dad doesn't show up for you. Your dad's not coming to your football game. You don't have a dad. I'm like, oh, you have a dad.
Right.
Let me tell you what your dad's doing. Right. But he's not going to remember that talk with auntie. But if I put it in a way like a nursery rhyme, like something tangible for him to remember, then he could have a comeback. Like, you gonna diss me? I got something for you.
Exactly.
Here's what my dad's doing, right?
Right.
And so the book follows along that journey, but I also didn't want him to be a victim either. So his dad shows him an example of what he's doing and when he's getting ready to leave. And he has a little puppy. And so he's got to leave his puppy. Jared, the little boy, has to leave his puppy and go to school. So he starts doing the same things that his dad was doing with the puppy. I'll be right back. I had to go to school. I'll be back in the afternoon. Yeah. And so it just takes you along this journey. It's not just for military families, but for people to experience a different type of a family dynamic, to understand what is it that military families go through.
Right.
But then even if you don't come from a military family and you're not curious or inquiring about a military family, just for you to understand, like, hey, I might have a loved one that I can't connect with.
Right.
I can find a way of how to do it in this book. And it came out during the pandemic when we were all separated.
Right.
And we couldn't connect with grandma and auntie and uncle and friends and coworkers. Like, we had to be online, you know? So this book, that's where it came from. And it came out at a time that was like literally God's timing was all over this book, because I sat on it on my nightstand for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And then thank God I have the most amazing illustrator, because if not, this whole book would be stick figures. In Keith Hobgood. And he put this together in a really unique way. It's not just like a page turner where it's like the dad's doing this, the son's doing that. The way the pages are split.
I looked at it briefly, like the pancakes that was drawing the little Jared out of bed was amazing. So shout out to the illustrator. That's really cool. I didn't realize it was that personal to you. And do you feel like all great writing has to, at some way, be personal like that?
Well, this is my first book. So for me, I feel like I tapped into another level of writing, because when I used to write for news, it was writing, telling other people's stories.
Yeah.
So for this one, it was telling my lived experience through another lens of viewing what was happening and wanting to help and find a solution. So for me, I feel like that's the only way to go.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Why My Hero Had to Go. I love it. Where can people, and I'm not ready to be done yet, but I want to say right now, where can people get the book?
They can go to my website. Okay. It's my first name and my last name, TalithaVickers.com.
Okay.
And it's also on Amazon. It's in Barnes & Noble. In Winston-Salem, it's at Bookmarks.
Wow.
And that's a bookstore. And it's in 12 libraries in Forsyth County. So whether you want to purchase it or check it out of the library.
Giving back to the library.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So dig into us a bit. So it's set. And I feel like most people, when we have great ideas, a lot of times we're sitting on them. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now that are sitting on ideas. So what was that point where it came off the nightstand and it became what we see today?
Wow. I don't know if there was like something that triggered it, like, okay, now it's the time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I felt like in my mind, any time could have been the time. But once it was done, right, I could have done it. I just felt like the more I thought about it, Stephen, I was just like, my nephew can't be the only one going through something like this. And This is a story. Like, I just wanted to do it to give it to him, to have something to hold on to. And once it was done, he was at an age, he was older, so he was at an age where he understood more. But I was like, I'm not going to give up on it because of that. But there wasn't, to that point, there wasn't really to your question, there wasn't a point in time where it was just like, now is the right time and release it. It just pretty organically happened. Did
you have more time? Because when you started writing it, you were still... Well, I'm sure you're super busy now, but was there any change in your level of busyness with the pandemic and just being...
That is a good point. I never really thought about it that way until you just said that. I think what it was the pandemic gave us a chance to just be still to a degree and reflect on what's important.
Yeah.
This is important to me. And so thank you for that, because I never could really put my hands on it. Like, why now? Like, marketing standpoint, absolutely during the pandemic, because we were so far apart and I knew the premise of the book. So I'm like, we got to get this out now. But I had more time to do it, even though I was reporting on, this catastrophic thing that was happening across our planet.
Right.
I did find the time I needed to slow down. I was just going too fast, and that's not always good.
Right. Well, and I like your earlier point about what your dad had taught you about seeds, and like that little notepad is where you were putting those seeds, those ideas, maybe this can go in the book, maybe this thought, maybe this would encourage my nephew. And like you all the while were planting. And I think that's good for our viewers. Like, if there's anything entrepreneurial you want to do, whether it's write a book, do a film, start a business, like, don't forsake those little seeds, those little ideas. And so that's why I think your point of like, write it down, because that's one additional step to making it real, taking it from thought to paper. Right. And now it's a book, but it's like it had to start somewhere.
Right.
And it's like, I think too many of us, we just let it sit in our minds, and a lot of times it'll come back to our minds, like you said. But then at some point, it's like you see someone else doing it.
Right. It's but that's my idea.
That's my idea, right? But you did nothing with it.
Right.
You never put it on paper. And
just do it.
Yeah.
That's the other part.
Even messy.
Yeah, if you were to see my first live shot, you'd be like, girl, stop it. It was messy. Like, it was bad. And even my first like couple of sentences, like I still have I have the book and it's like scratched out and like it doesn't look like this.
Yeah.
And eventually, and I have other books that I'm like working on and things like that, but I learned from the mess.
Yeah.
But people see it as like scribble scrabble or messy, but I see it as the journey to get to this, you know, and it was so helpful to, at least to your point, write it down, make it plain, put it on your wall, put a sticky note. If you saw my mirror, sticky notes everywhere.
Sticky notes. So I want you to take it a step further, because you said you got other books in your mind. If people out there are trying to figure out how to write a book, they've got a book in mind, they've got something they want to put on paper.
Yeah.
Maybe they know that's the first step, but get a little more practical. What's the next steps? When did you call the illustrator? When did you start going back and forth with him describing? How much budget do you think was needed to get going? When did you know it was done? Does it need to be 5 pages, 6 pages, 2 pages, 4 pages? How many, what are some of those practical things that you went through, and can you whittle them down into advice you would give to someone who wants to maybe write a book?
Sure. All great questions and definitely points, because I'm a researcher at heart. So I did the research before I started. Like, I knew that I had a book in me. I had this thing on the nightstand, but then what do I do with that thing on the nightstand, right? And so I went on Amazon and I purchased some, children's, how to write a children's book.
Perfect. So you went ahead and purchased on Amazon so you Googled how to write a children's book, got on Amazon, and decided which one you wanted to purchase.
Right. And so I did some research on the book, looked at some reviews and things like that. So but for me, I didn't want to just dive in without knowing what I'm doing, because I didn't have any examples in my family, immediate family, or I didn't have any examples to show how to do this. So I looked at what other people did. I started looking at my children's books. Like every book at the back, or even on the inside of every book, it has like where it was produced or who produced it, the production house that is associated with it. And mine is TV Author Publishing House, because mine is self-published. And so I would look back and I'm like, oh, this was published by Penguin House. This was published by Scholastic. So I was like, let me call Penguin House.
Yeah.
Let me call. And so I kind of did it backwards, because I just went on my kids' bookshelf and I was like, let me look at their books.
That is so practical.
Like, literally, I want to write a book. There are books here. Let me reach out to some of these authors.
I love that. I love it.
Here I am Googling.
What do they call that in other I guess, businesses or other, it's like other people do this, like when you deconstruct a thing to kind of figure out. And well, obviously, folks say that even major competitors of U.S. companies do this. They'll get our product and they'll deconstruct it to try to replicate it. But in a very practical way, you took books. Okay, I want to write a book. Let me go find books. Let me dig into beyond the pages and the content. Let me look at who published it, who wrote it, and try to call them up. So you call them up, what happens?
Click.
They hung up.
Literally. Do you have an agent? No. But I have an idea.
Right.
Get an agent. Oh, that's how that works. Oops. So I did it kind of backwards, but wonderful. It also opened up this whole new window for me to say, hey, if I can't go at it in this way, I didn't know, I didn't know you don't call up Penguin House or Scholastic or anything like that and just try to get in there. But I was seeking information. Obviously, I didn't think that immediately a phone call was going to make it happen. Right. But so I would be very nice to whoever's picking up the phone. Like, can you tell me a little bit about, get an agent? Where would I find some agents? So those people were very helpful. And so I just kept asking, of journalism in me, I just kept asking questions and doing the research and digging and reading books about how to do this. And then I finally started to talk to some agents, and they're like, listen, you've got a great book. We like it, but you did it a little backwards, Talitha. And I was like, again? So 2 backwards hits now? And I'm like, what did I do backwards? They're like, you already have an illustrator. We picked the illustrator. I didn't know that. So I found Keith Hobgood through Out of Our Minds Animation Studio in Winston-Salem. They had done something for a station that I worked with. So I was like, do you guys like, I know you do animations and all of that, like claymation, cartoons and all, but do you ever do like children's books? And they're like, no, what do you got? And so I read it to Keith and he was like, oh, I got it. I've never done an illustration for a book before, but I want to illustrate your book.
I'd love to do it. Yeah.
So he starts illustrating and I have like just like some sketches and I'm showing him pictures of my brother, pictures of Jared, and like we're going through like, oh, maybe he's got this shirt and blah, blah, like all the things. So I present my full package to the agents and they're like, yeah, you don't do it this way. When you want to write a story, like let's say you want to write a chapter book, you don't need to write or even a whole thick book, a whole novel.
Right.
You don't have to have the whole novel written. You just need your first chapter and your last chapter. Present that and we'll work with you. You'll have like even a ghostwriter that can work with you. And these are things that I'm learning over the phone. And I'm like, I didn't know. And they're like, well, what we can do is just, all we need you to do is type it up, give it to us, and then we'll present it. We'll shop it around to the big publishing houses. And if they like it, then they will pick the illustrator. And then if they like it, then they will now talk to us about mass producing this and then the book tours and the book signings and getting into Barnes & Noble and all of those things. So I was like, man, second time, did it backwards.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we'll hang on to some of these photos or the illustrations and we'll still present it. But just so you know, that's the way it works. So when they presented it, they came back and said, this is an amazing story. There's no book like this.
Yeah.
There's books about police officers, firefighters, nurses, but not about soldiers. Yeah. There's not a book that has this parallel. We loved, and I'm like hyped, like, oh, I got something different. This is amazing. And they're like, but here's the thing. We got to make it universal. I'm like, okay. And we got to like get it into like, every home. Yeah. So we got to lighten his skin.
Yeah.
I heard you back there, Mackenzie. Clutch my pearls. What?
Clutch my pearls.
Lighten who what now?
Like, that's not your...
No. Like literally silent. Yeah. And I was like, excuse me? Yeah, so if we lighten his skin a little bit, he'd still be black and everything, but like just lighter because then that will have a massive appeal. And no, this is Jared. So look, that's his complexion right there. Right. That is it. Okay. Yeah. Like that's my family. Yeah. We are not doing that because back to the library, I never saw Jared on a cover. I saw if there was a cover with someone that looked like me, they was talking about something in slavery or Harriet Tubman or Martin Luther King. There was nothing for me to escape with a child that looked like me on an adventure and to learn about. Yeah. And I was furious at that point. I was adamant that if this is the way I gotta go, I'm out. Right. But not out and saying I'm not doing this. I'm going to do it my way.
Do it your way.
So I already had my illustrator in Keith Hobgood, who was so amazing. He stuck with me. I already had the story, but I didn't have the print. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I want my print to look just as good as Penguin House.
It's good.
Thank you.
And the story is amazing. I mean, I thought all the same things. This is a perspective that just have not seen.
Thank you.
It's like you know about it, but you just have not. It's excellent.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a lot because it's still a baby book in its infancy, and that's why I really appreciate being on your podcast to help spread the word and share it because I want other people to be aware of the book, but also don't quit, don't shrink, don't minimize, don't shrink back. I could have shrunk back and be like, oh, I get paid if I lighten his skin just a little bit, he's still black. Okay. Right. I'm not, no, we're not doing that. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to self-publish this book and it can be done. And what I did was I said, if it's going to look that way, I need to have the dollars to put behind it. No investors or anything like that. I'm going to do it my way because no one's going to tell me what color can be on the front.
Your story.
Right. And so I saved and I was like, I'm going to save, I would say, you don't have to tell us exactly, but
what's a good, I don't know, minimum, maximum you think somebody needs to self-publish?
I would say to start, anywhere between, because there's so much now that has changed between AI and cheaper publishing houses. Like Keith Hobgood hand sketched every single, this is not AI. He took my photos of my brother and my nephew, and everything is hand drawn.
Wow.
So I would say anywhere between $1,000 and $4,000.
Yeah.
Stack it, save it, pay yourself every paycheck, $25, $50, $100, but whatever you got to do till you get to that point. If you want it to live on the shelf next to your competitors.
Right.
You can go to the library with loose leaf papers and say, here's a book, but they're not going to, it's going to fall flat. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to move. So you got to invest in your dream and take the time to say, okay, it's going to take some time for me to get there, but don't quit. Don't give up. And I didn't do that. And once I had a sample of the book, I took it to the library, and I knew some people in the administration. They said, Talitha, it's a great book. We love this. We would love to have this book, but we only get books from publishing houses. We don't have self-published authors in our library system. And I was like, okay, so it needs to come from a publishing house. And I was like, okay, great. Googling, figuring it out. And I was like,
how to create a publishing house.
Right. So now I have a publishing house. TV, author, publishing house is my initials, Talitha Vickers. TV, author, publishing house.
Wow.
And that's the publishing house. And now I want to teach others how to do the exact same thing without taking a major percentage like these other publishing houses do. I want people's dreams to come true, but I don't want to rob them in the process either.
Right.
And so now I have TV author publishing house, and I went back to the library. I was like, okay, I am not presenting pieces of loose leaf. I actually have these books, and they believed enough in the story. And that was where the community and networking came in. That's a big part of entrepreneurship too, is who you know, but also making those connections where people can sing your praises in a room full of opportunities. And that's what happened with my book, not just because I was a television news anchor, but because they're like, she's the anchor that comes off the desk, and she's in our communities, and she's helping. And so we want to help her too. So that's where the library angle came in too. It had to be as good as the others, but if you tell me this is what you need, this is what you're going to get.
Right.
So I can get this on the shelf. And so I would say have anywhere between $1,000 and $4,000. Do the research. Surround yourself with great people who are going to elevate you for those opportunities, but also make sure that you're giving back too as well.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by giving back is like I have given these books to school districts so that they can share the story.
Yeah.
And I would also say make sure that you have some thick skin too, because the publishing industry is very cutthroat, as you heard of what they wanted me to do with my nephew, and I refused to do that. And I was like, I'm going to make a book that's just as good as others and put it on the shelves. And I would say, my cousin Joel, he was the very first one to buy my book. And, you get that little ding on your phone. You're like, oh my gosh, I got a sale.
Right.
And surround yourself with people who are also going to encourage you. And that's really important. That one sale let me know, like, it was almost validation for what was on the shelf.
Absolutely.
All those years just sitting there. And it just sparked something in me. It was like, I want more dings on my phone. I want to hear that going off more. And not in a money hungry way, but in a way that's just like, okay, it's impact. Like it's moving.
Impact. It's validation that this is good. It's excellent. And it people want to read it. They want to know about it. And it's a, what do we get from all books? It gives us that perspective that's different. And
absolutely.
From learning to read to even just like you said earlier, opening up a world, especially to young children. So money's a byproduct, and we love it.
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool, right? It comes, but this is a testament to you taking an idea, bringing it to life, and then going through all the obstacles. And I love how you tell everyone to have thick skin because it's necessary.
Absolutely.
And if you've got to Google it, if you've got to ask, if you've got to whatever you got to do to get the information to get to that next stage. I think many of us in that entrepreneurial world have to do that.
Oh my gosh. It's necessary. It's critical. If you don't have that, muscle to flex, you're dead in the water. So start doing it, can do things consistently so that you can flex that muscle. You have to do it. It's like saying, hey, let's go play basketball with Michael Jordan and you haven't even practiced. You know what I mean? Or, hey, I'm going to put you in the game with 5 seconds left on the clock and you haven't warmed up. Like, you're going to fall. So just continue to be consistent and show up.
Absolutely. Get the reps in. Well, it's been a pleasure having you. Tell us again where we can get the book.
Absolutely. So you can get it on my website. It's TalithaVickers.com, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, in the Forsyth County Library System. And then I will be at a festival, the Festival of Authors and Books, on September 27th in Winston-Salem. It's one of the largest book festivals in the region and in the state. And so I'll be there with a booth, and my illustrator, Keith Hobgood, will be there with me too as well. And we'll be signing and have some giveaways, and that'll be in downtown Winston-Salem on September 27th. September 27th. What time again? It's from 9:30 to 5:30. Thank you for that. And we're going to be doing a fun story time around 2:30. Awesome. September 27th, downtown Winston-Salem. That's right. So be there. You'll get to see the author and the book. Talitha, again, it's been a pleasure having you. Before we let you go, we ask this a lot to our guests on our show here, The Journey to Freedom. What would author Talitha, older Talitha, more experienced Talitha tell younger Talitha if you could go back in time? Oh, my goodness. And talk to this camera right here. Wow, that is a good one. I would say, younger Talitha, you are going to face challenges and you are going to face some wonderful opportunities in front of you. Go along for the journey and continue to keep God as your focus, and he will lead your path. Even when it looks dark and even when it looks bright, make sure that you have God as your center, because it's all going to be all right, girl. You got this. I love it. Thank you again, Talitha. Thank you all for tuning in. Keep God as your focus. Go get the book, Why My Hero Had to Go, by author Talitha Vickers. As always, I only ask you to do one thing, and that's to stay motivated. It's your boy, StephenMotivate. Peace.